Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Elise.
It's
How are
amazing
you
how the
today?
music suddenly cuts off and we're like stuck here like deers in headlights.
Yeah, good morning. I was trying to go live on TikTok. I'm not sure that we are on. I don't see that we are on, so not sure how that's gonna work, but
Every week we're trying something different, guys. So how did everybody's weekend? Did we all
how
have,
was what did you say? How my
I s-
weekend
I'm,
was?
I'm saying, did everybody have a good weekend?
Oh, oh.
And how was yours? I know you're not doing too well because you were sick.
So it's super weird. Like last Monday, I was congested. Right, we did the show, and I was kind of not
Yep.
feeling great, and so I canceled all my appointments that day. And
Hmm.
then on Tuesday, I was okay, and then Wednesday, I was fine, like back to normal. Everything was beautiful. And Thursday, I started feeling a little sicker, and then Friday was worse, and then Saturday was like the worst. Saturday, I was like completely uh knocked out. It was really
Oh,
bad. And then I've been recovering a little bit ever since, but like it's taking a long time to and I'm thinking like, I know we're going to be talking to somebody who knows a lot about like herbs and stuff, and maybe she can answer some of my questions about that. But I was thinking, I take oil of oregano. Like
yep.
anytime I see or feel a cold coming on, I'll take the oil of oregano. But I'm really questioning if it's just like making it last longer by suppressing what should happen and just letting it happen on a longer period of time, rather than being sick for 2 days, really sick. I was like for a whole almost week, week.
Yeah.
It's been a week now, so I'm questioning if it's just not suppressing it and not really
Letting it
nipping it
come
in the
out.
bud.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let it come
so
out and get
I
over
don't
with.
know.
I still say hot gin toddy. When I worked at Astro Printing, one of the ladies said hot gin toddy. Two of those.
The beauty of lives.
What happened?
Sorry, I guess I pressed a button without knowing. What the heck?
Anyway, I was just saying when I worked at Astro Printing, one of the ladies said if you feel a cold coming on, two hot gin toddies will knock it right out of you. So it's
Yeah.
gin, hot water, lemon, and honey. Two of those.
Yeah.
Take it the night before, go to bed. Next morning, you're fine. It's
Mm,
it's gone. Anyway, I swear by that. Yeah,
wow.
sadly, Julia wasn't feeling well, and I got to go to a wonderful event on Friday, which I
Yeah,
wanted her to be at. So the
I
Chamber
so
of
wanted
Com
to be there too,
oh
but
my
I didn't
God.
want to chance it and,
No,
and make everybody sick, right?
no, it was wonderful though. It was the high tea event commemorating International Women's Day. It was put on by the Cornwall Chamber and the Business Enterprise Center. It was wonderful. I don't know, it's always so nice to be in a room full of like-minded businesswomen. And then
Mm-hmm.
there was a wonderful guest speaker, a panel, but it was just talking about trials and things that they've overcome, and just it was good to hear that we all have the same kind of issues and we all come through, and I don't know, it's just a nice
Yeah.
feeling. Then
And
watching.
you did such a great job with writing an article for it. Like, I mean, your article was really inspiring. So thank you for that.
Oh,
And you had
good.
so many pictures. Like it was wonderful coverage, my Lise.
A lot of times I just put it on Facebook, but then there's some things that need an actual article, and this was one of them. And I also visited the Klein House where they had a show called Take a Stand Project.
Hmm.
So basically, I don't know if everybody knows, but human trafficking is really bad out there right now, and Cornwall seems to be the hub. So I've been following Danielle McCormick from Maison Baldwin House. She's done a few talks about this subject at the library, and
Hmm.
it's terrifying because it's happening right here in front of our noses, kind of thing. So what she had done was Serendipity got donated 700 pairs of white pants.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, she took those around all the high schools and she talked about human trafficking. So the students were given a pair of white pants. I wrote some notes. I'm just looking to make sure I said it right. So the students were each given a pair of white pants, and they were asked to draw on them, cut them up, do whatever they wanted to do to show their feelings about human trafficking. And the 500 pairs of pants were hung up at the Klein House
Mm-hmm.
on display. Oh my God, what an awesome way of it was just
Visualizing
really
it, eh?
moving. So visual because again, it's nice to talk about it and be given the facts, but then to be asked to portray it as you
Yeah.
see it, it was very moving. And then there was some artists, local artists who had been given the talk as well, and they were asked to portray their feelings. So there was a huge difference between the students. Their their images were very dark and dreary and deep, but the artists were the opposite. They were flowers and full of hope, and it was interesting to
Mm.
see how different ages perceive
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah.
So that show was on for 2 days. It's now moving to I believe Brockville in
Oh, so
Montreal and
it's a
Ottawa. We've
traveling
got some
show?
different. It wasn't, but as it was set up in the Klein House, a lot of people approached Maison Baldwin House and asked for it to be moved to different locations
Cool.
because it really was an impactful show. It was really well done.
Cool.
So that's what I did. Plus, I found another little thrift store
Yeah, I saw that and I had no idea
on
where it
my
was.
travels.
So,
And I did it as an out and about with Secret Chick Miley's Where Was I? I didn't even know it existed. It's actually in Lancaster. It's called Opportunity Knocks, and it's in a church. It's behind a church on 1 Mullen Street, and it was so packed full of stuff in there, Julia. But it was so well organized at the same time and busy. I picked myself up something
oh,
leggings for the St.
cute,
Patrick's
cute.
Day theme because I like to have theme leggings, and I have a hard time drinking water. So I found this really neat water jug.
Ooh,
So I have water and lemons. I'm keeping it in the fridge, and I'm making myself drink water out of it. It seems to be so
cute,
far.
cute, cute.
And of course, I had my hair
Yes, you
cut.
did.
If
Love the
anybody
bangs.
noticed,
Love the bangs.
got the bangs.
Really nice.
Needed a bit of a change, and I want to give a shout out to the lady who did it for me. Are you seeing it the right way?
I'm not, but people probably are.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
I hope so. It's called the Hair Express, and it's Christina
Okay.
Alguire. She did a phenomenal job because I can actually wear them as bangs or flip them back to the way they were and just spritz them back. I tried it yesterday, so
So you
I've
know it
got
works.
either or, depending on how I feel. And the Hair Express is new. Christina started her salon in January. She used to do hair and went back to doing
Mm-hmm.
it. It's located in the city center plaza, Unit 55, 812 Pitt Street. So pop on by. She does walk-ins, and like I say, she did a great job. She also cut about a
Yeah,
good
your hair is a
inch
lot
and a half
shorter
off.
than it was, but I've been contemplating getting bangs for a while now, but I'm really terrified because like it took so long to grow them out, like grow my hair
Yeah.
out, and I'm like, if I get bangs and I really don't like it, it's gonna take me so long to grow them back. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, it,
Hmm.
it was a kind of a scary thing when I did it. So she's cutting, shorter, shorter, shorter. She goes, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, they're over my eyes. You're gonna have to finish it off now. I can't have
Yeah,
it like that." But yeah, I
yeah.
liked it.
It
I
suits
think
you.
it
It
looks
frames
good.
your face. I like it. It's nice.
Perfect. I'm glad I got Julia's approval. I did get my sister. I got my sister's approval too, Julia, like amazing, because she doesn't give compliments very often, and she actually texted it to me, so I've got proof on my phone
You got
that
a
she.
record.
I
Got a record of it. Oh well.
have a record. Anyway, today we have two awesome guests. We have Kat Rendeck from Transition Cornwall
Hmm.
Plus. I'm not sure if she's
Nobody's
waiting in
waiting
the
in the
wings
waiting
or
room
not.
right now, so I'm kind of getting worried. There's nobody in the back end of the studio, but you can explain what the show's about, and hopefully, they will come in.
Well,
They
today's
said
guests
you
are going to be,
said 10:15, so
yeah. So anyway, this show is about seeds and weeds, and I did find something else at the thrift store. Sorry, I have a hard time, but this one was too good to pass.
it's a little cactus. The only kind I wouldn't die,
Let me just.
I wouldn't kill.
Hello, Julia. How are you? It's a talking
Yeah,
cactus. I had to get it. I'm
it's so
sorry.
cute.
I've
I
turned
wouldn't kill that one.
I've turned enough. I know. Well, you could try, but I don't think you could do anything to it. But I mean, I paid a couple of dollars for it, and it had to come
Yeah,
home with me. It was not something I needed, but I had to
yeah.
get it.
It's cute. All right, so I think
So
I
anyway,
do have Kat in the back now, so I can bring her in. And I will put
Hi,
her
good
in.
morning.
I don't
Good
know.
morning.
Good morning, Kat. I don't know if you saw my little theme for the seeds and weeds today, but here's definitely a plant that Julia
Okay,
cannot kill. She has a hard time with
I'm so
plants.
bad with plants.
very inspiring. Have you seen the ones that are made out of Lego?
Oh yes, I have one
Yeah,
of those.
I'm seeing
Yes,
those more and more
actually
actually. People.
I
Uh,
have a little
oh, there
Oh,
you
flower.
do you have
go.
one?
Yeah,
Oh,
I have a flower here, so I don't kill that one. Yeah.
perfect. You know your skills. Know your
Yeah,
skills. That's okay.
I absolutely I've given up. Like I've tried so many times. My leases bought me plants that were apparently not killable, and I managed to kill them. So
She managed to kill
yeah.
them. So anyway, welcome,
Hi.
Kat. So Kat is part of Transition Cornwall Plus. Actually, can you tell us a little bit about Transition
Yeah,
Cornwall
for
Plus? What
sure.
exactly is it? I know we have a column in the Seeker every month, but tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about.
so Transition Cornwall Plus is what we would call a grassroots community organization. It's been around for over a decade in our region, and the core principles are just we're trying to build connections, build resiliency in our community in the face of climate change, food insecurity, and kind of an over reliance on fossil fuels. And so, all of these topics are very top of mind right now. So it's always interesting for me to think about, these were things that people 15 plus years ago were already starting to talk about in our community and trying to build more connection and awareness and kind of change our behaviors a little bit in the ways that we can and provide some advocacy. So the group is, alive, lots of things. I think we have a really good reputation of trying to bring information to residents so they can make some personal decisions. And that's sort of the core of a lot of our events and our promotions and things like that, of just trying to connect people around these topics.
And I know you just had an event, the share. I think it's share
Yeah,
swap.
the
I can't remember what it was
swap
called.
share repair fair, and so that was in February, and that kind of came out
Mhm.
of some work that we'd done before the pandemic, even around waste reduction and trying to get people to repair things instead of just throwing it in the landfill.
Mhm.
Since 2019, we know especially the city of Cornwall, we've changed a lot of our waste management policies. We've just introduced the green bin. There's expansions in recyclables. So a lot of things have changed. Again, kind of interesting to think we were already talking about that 6 years ago. But the event was really meant to be a space for people to be curious and learn some new things about what they can do at home, but then also learn what the city is doing on their behalf, because there's always we want to try to avoid that it's just for the individual person to solve the problems. It's really a community problem. It's a systems problem. It's a provincial, federal, a global problem. So we don't want anyone to feel like it's their problem to solve alone, which is a lot of how we frame our solutions, is about kind of everyone being informed and coming together to make change. So the Swap Share event was really successful. We think it was as a kind of first time. And we are still kind of figuring out or assessing what we want to do next, but we might end up doing it in the fall as part of, when people are kind of cleaning out their garages and getting ready for winter. It might be a better time for them to have the event. So we're open to feedback if any of your viewers have some thoughts on that, but we're really excited about it.
That's awesome. I think it's so important to, really emphasize the repair part of your your event, because like you said, so many people just we just toss everything now. Everything has become so disposable. It breaks, you just it's because it might be even cheaper to just,
buy new,
toss it than and buy a new one. Like I'm thinking printers, for example, it's I don't know how many printers I've gone through over the last, they're not made to last.
Well, and that is even everything you've just mentioned, that's a lot of the stuff that we're trying to get people to understand, is that buying something that is built to last is getting harder and harder, because those disposable items put a greater pressure on our environment, on our natural resources. We don't have really good waste recycling streams for some things like toner ink. We don't have maybe the structures in place to be really responsible with all of the disposable stuff we're creating. And so if there's a way that we can repair stuff, or we buy less, or we buy better quality, but less often, so there's different ways people can navigate that. I think another one that was part of this event was the swapping, the sharing, right? So the idea that maybe you don't need it anymore, but don't throw it out. Maybe someone else will take advantage of it. They'll turn it into something new, or it's the thing that they can't quite afford, or whatever it might be, and they can take advantage of it. So, sharing economies, especially in economic times when we're not quite certain, which we're sort of in right now, those can be really powerful, to kind of know that your neighbor, your community member can help you out and kind of fill in some gaps. That helps us out personally, but it also does help our environment. It helps keep things out of the landfill, and just gives better value to whatever the item is. If it's clothing, if it's electronics, maybe it's furniture. I mean, there's so much stuff, right? In the world in general. So it's just a different way of thinking about the world and our place in it, I think. Anyway, so that's a broad Transition Cornwall Plus umbrella, but we do have a special group that's called the Food Action Group. So that's the group that's doing the CD Saturday event, and we've been really active in the community for over a decade now, doing all the community gardens and the community plant giveaways. And really excited that this year is our 10th annual CD Saturday, so kind of encouraging people to do gardening. And that's all in line with what I was sort of talking about, is being more self-sufficient, knowing where your plants come from, knowing where your food comes from, knowing how you're connected with the natural systems of, with spring and summer and what grows here, what species are around, pests, soil. It's all kind of connected. And we really believe that the more people understand how to grow their own food, the more they understand their bigger place in the environment and value and want to do more to save it and preserve it, and be a positive force for our environment instead of always a negative force. So
yeah. I last year, this event that you're talking about was called Transition into Spring, and this year I'm excited that the old name is back.
Right.
Because when I see CD Saturday, smell the seeds and the soil and everything. So what made you guys change the name back to the CD Saturday?
Yeah. So, well, it actually, the story goes back to why we had to change it to transition into spring. And the reason for that, and hopefully people will forgive us for this, is because following the pandemic and during the pandemic, a lot of our seed producers were selling online. And there was such a big demand for seed that they were selling out before our event in March. And so we didn't actually have enough seed vendors to feel right about calling it Seedy Saturday. So we expanded the event a little bit more, and it was just a little bit more about living sustainably and the benefits of gardening. And so it was reframed into this sort of transition into spring. Parts of that were really, really successful, which is actually why we did decide to split and do the swap, share, repair and CD Saturday again. And because the community still wanted that information, they just didn't all want it just in March. I guess that was what we learned. And then fortunately, in the last few years, especially following the pandemic, we've had a lot of new seed farmers come up. So people are starting new businesses, they're expanding their seed inventory. So even those that were selling out before, they've scaled up. They know that people want local, regional seed. And so we get to benefit from that as an event. And so we feel now we have 6 seed vendors coming to our event, but we also have perennial growers. We have tropical plant growers. We have, all these other producers that have kind of come up in the last 5 years that never existed in our region before. And so we felt it was time to kind of honor our roots, so to say, and bring people back to really celebrating seeds and gardening and pollinator support and soil support in the way that the CD Saturdays across the country have always been framed. Yeah. So you're back, but it had nothing to do with us. It had everything to do with seed farmers.
Okay, so we keep talking about CD Saturday. When is this event taking place?
Yeah, sure. So it's Saturday, March 15th. So this coming Saturday. The event is from 10 to 2, and it is hosted at the Cornwall Civic Complex, so 100 Water Street East. We're in the salon, so if anyone's familiar with the building, we're in the basement salons. We do have, as I mentioned, sort of all of our vendors and exhibitors. And then we have our kind of more children's activity or just learning stations is what we're calling them, because as much as we used to have sort of children's activity, we've realized that adults, people of all ages benefit from learning and playing and being creative. So we're not, it's for everyone. Everyone can come and learn a little bit more about seeds and gardening. And then we have a really special film that we've been able to bring in partnership with Seeds of Diversity. And so that'll be shown in Salon A twice. So we're going to run it twice. So at 10:30 and then at 12:30. And this is a film that is filmed, it's a Canadian film. It's based in Toronto. It's specifically about urban gardening and farming post-pandemic. So about like what every person can do at an individual level to grow their own food. And it's really special because it's sort of been sponsored by Seeds of Diversity, who support CD Saturdays across Canada every year. Huge shout out to them. They're a big supporter of our event. And they've sponsored this event in all CD Saturdays across Canada. And so as we watch this film, so are millions of people across the country. And it's really special. What makes it really interesting is there are very, very few documentaries and films about gardening and urban gardening from the Canadian perspective. Often we are seeing the US perspective or European perspective. And so I think it's really important for people in our community to see themselves in both the climate or the limitations or, even the diets. And so we're going to see that in this documentary. And I really do want to encourage people, if they can, even for 20 minutes, sit in and watch this film. I think they're going to feel really connected and seen with gardeners across the country.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So basically, it's an event for everybody. It's a free event.
It
right?
is. It's totally free. Obviously, there will be seeds and supplies and perennials for sale, but there is no obligation to spend money. We really just want people to come and enjoy and learn and connect. And if there's anything that we're kind of missing, we'll try to build it in for next year. But we really hope people just enjoy it as part of our March break-in. And we'll hopefully see you there and see you for another 10 years to come.
Well, I'm excited. We are actually DJing on Saturday night in Finch.
Well, you can come first thing in the morning then.
But yes, I can actually come for the whole thing from, I'll be there from 10 to 2 because I know I usually come in and have to leave, but there's so much to see. So I want to be there for the whole thing this time. Anyway, thank you so much, Kat, for telling us
Oh,
about.
wait, we have a question for
Yeah.
Kat.
Oh, okay.
Somebody said, I have a question, please. Do I bring seeds to swap?
Thank you, Phyllis. I so appreciate the question. Yes, so I should have mentioned it. We a really big part of this event is our seed swap and Ask a Gardener station. So if you have seeds that you're no longer using, we really welcome you to bring them to swap and maybe try something new. And if you're not sure what you want to take, we're going to have some of our expert gardeners there to maybe help you select a really good seed for you and what you're looking for. We do welcome if you have also some gardening tools or books or magazines, things that you no longer want, but you think a fellow gardener might appreciate. You're welcome to bring that to the swap table too. So we do have a little bit, we already start with some seeds at our swap table, but it's always interesting to me to see what people bring. People save seeds or they've gifted seeds or it's very exciting station. So, and it changes throughout the day. So it's very, very interesting. And we hope anyone who has extra seeds participates.
Awesome. Thank you.
I've got two, Kat. How long can seeds last? Like, say you've got seeds in a packet that's unopened and it's been like 4 years. Are they still going to be any good in there?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It does depend on the seed. So certain varieties can last a really long time, and other varieties, they don't even really last more than 2 years. Some of that information is definitely online or in gardening books, so I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm sorry. But what I would suggest for anyone who has older seeds, and especially from things like swap tables that are probably older seeds, I always suggest doing a germination test, which is really easy to do. You're just going to take a small selection of the seeds. You're going to dampen it, put it in a cloth or a wet paper towel, and see if it germinates in a 3 to 5 day period. And if it does, you know that, or you can expect that the rest of the seed in the packet is going to have a relatively okay germination rate. And if it does not, it's probably time to compost the seeds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it's an easy way. And so what I do, is I'll take a paper towel and I'll put a couple seeds for different varieties. And I kind of use a Sharpie and make okay, these were all this seed. This is this seed. And I just make notes so that then when I open it up, I can really see what we would call the germination rate. So, and it happens lots of my seeds that I save seeds from peppers and beans and tomatoes and all sorts of things. And, some years they're really good and some years they're not. I tend to not use seed that's over 5 years old. So just as a general rule of thumb. But even that, I've been gifted seeds that's over 10 years old, done a germination test. Everything's great. And I go forward and they're beautiful plants. So you just have to try them.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. So you can tell she's so passionate about this event.
This is my thing.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you for having me on, though, to talk and share. I don't usually get a lot of opportunity in my day job to do this, which is one of the reasons I transition into spring as a volunteer. I get to sort of do, show off or show up, I guess, in this passion and connect with other people who are interested and have good questions to ask. So thank you, Mylee, but also Phyllis, because that makes it more fun for me. I really do think gardening is about connecting with people. You're never really gardening alone. You're gardening with nature. You're gardening with other people. You're swapping stories and seeds. It's a very powerful way to connect. And it means a lot to me. So thank you for letting me share.
Well, thank you for coming and speaking with us, Kat. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. I hope to see everyone there next Saturday.
Absolutely.
And will you be wearing your butterfly dress?
Probably not. I have a new shirt that's got vegetables on it and stuff. So I'm gonna do something a little different this year. But I do appreciate it. I know I'm quite recognizable by my loud gardening outfit.
Dress,
so
All right, Kat. Have a good day.
Right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We'll see you there. Bye for now.
Oh.
So our second guest, she's so passionate and and it is going to be a great event. And our second guest is also gardener, farmer. She does a lot of different things. It's Edna Sinclair. and she's the owner and farmer at the Real Muddy Toes
There
Organics.
we
Hi,
go.
Edna.
Hi,
Hi.
Edna.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh my, good morning. And look who's behind Edna.
Ah,
Oh,
Un-
garden
unknown.
gnome. Love it.
yeah. One of my
So,
little crafty projects.
oh, I met Edna. I met you a few years
Mhm.
ago. You keep popping up all over the
I
place. I
do.
keep running into you, and you've got such an interesting story. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started doing what you do, and what do you do?
Well, ever since I was a little girl, I always liked growing things, and I don't know where or how I got it. I don't know if it's part of my indigenous genetic background, and it's just somewhere inside me. Um, because I was always raised in urban settings, and but I always just kind of wanted to be part of the Walton family, like a big, huge family, lots of kids, and lots of space outside. So most of my career when I was younger, I did lots of different things from acting and modeling in the big cities and stuff to learning a bit about healthcare. I always had an interest in herbs and natural medicines as opposed to big, huge pharmaceuticals and stuff. So I started studying that a bit in not back when I did it, because as a lot of years ago, um, it wasn't mainstream as much as it is now. Now there's lots of colleges out there that teach herbology and natural medicine and homeopathy and all those good things. Um, Back when I took it, it was kind of like you took your chance. You went and hoped that you got a really great teacher and that you were learning. There weren't as many books. A lot of the books were very technical, like Culpeper and stuff out of England. A lot of the books came from Europe, originally. And so I studied those a bit. And then I had my children and I had different careers with my children. I was in customer service in big retail chains, like White Rose Canada. I was brought on to try to
Hmm.
save that sinking ship, which of course didn't happen. Not due to my lack of trying, but I loved my time there. And then in and out of most of my life, from the time I was probably about 12 years old, I worked in food and beverage, and so catering. Um, Weddings, big, huge events. I've always been a people person. So that kind of suited my personality. And being a mom, and in the beginning, a single mom at a very young age, it allowed me to tailor my timeline and my schedule around my kids and stuff like that. And then, fast forward a lot of years, you have the family, the career, mortgages, all that kind of stuff. So my farm idea or my farm love just kept on getting put on the back burner. Because, my kids played competitive sports and did horseback riding and dancing and all those other things. And when you become a parent, a lot of times they become your whole world. So your dreams kind of get put
That's
on the
it,
back
true.
burner. And then as my son,
Yep.
all my poochies are going to come in. My son, once he left home, because he's my youngest, I said to my husband, we don't need this big house in the city anymore. I really want to go after my dream. And my dream was always to have a farm. I didn't know what I was going to farm because I didn't have a teacher. I didn't grow up in a family setting. I had no real role models. Every farmer I talked to, because we lived in a rural kind of setting, where there was lots of land around us and lots of cows, but it was big farming, like either milk production or beef production or stuff like that. And and so everyone that I talked to, they thought I was crazy. They were like, why do you want to be a farmer? Like, it's hard work. You don't get to take vacations. You don't get to do this. You don't get to do that. And I said, well, I'm really creative. I've been in advertising, promotions, and people and events. And I said, I think if you take that creativity and put it all together and do lots of collaborations and stuff, I think there's a new way to do farming. And I feel like
Hmm.
what I was probably inadvertently talking about is the big, huge push now for homesteading and people becoming more preparedness and stuff like that. We
Hmm.
lost a lot of those things. Like we lost, like if you look at European and other cultures, they kept their elders or their grandparents or whatever that were around. And they may not have worked really closely with their kids, but they definitely passed a lot of stuff on to the grandkids, right? Because they were the caregivers before
Mm-hmm.
daycares and stuff. It was always your aunts, your
Yep.
uncles, your grandparents that were kind of there when your parents went off to work and stuff like that. And we lost a lot of that. There's a lot of kids, a lot of the last two generations maybe grew up not having their grandparents around as much and stuff. And whether it was because of just how we changed, years ago, people were having babies and being married 14, 15, 16, whatever. And then we changed a lot of times. Nowadays, a lot of women aren't having children until their 30s, right? So
Mhm.
the whole
Mm-hmm.
family dynamic changed and stuff like that. But anyway, so I started looking around. So my oldest daughter um, went to Toronto to do some acting and go to a school there. And she met her future husband, and he happened to be from this area. He was from Monkland area. And they've now been together about 20 years. And then many years later, my middle daughter started dating the middle son in the same family. So oldest daughter, oldest son, and so once my oldest daughter started having children and stuff, and we started looking, I always thought I'd settle in Merrickville. I had my eye on this little property. Well, little property, it was about 89 acres, but for many, many, many years, it was rolling hills and rocky crests and just really unspoiled old ironwood trees and gnarly, like it had an old stone foundation that I imagined that I would clean it all out and put like a canvas canopy on top and serve like really one of a kind dinner events there and stuff. And I'm a big dreamer. um but anyway, once my kids moved east, because I'd never really been east, I decided that I would start looking at properties out here. And financially, a much better move because the properties were probably a good 40% like cheaper than they were, in the Canada, Carp, Merrickville kind of area. Um, and so it took me about a year to find this property. I went to a lot. I had a great, great real estate agent who really listened to what I wanted. My whole thing was, here, take a map, draw me a half an hour radius from where my kids live. And if you could find me a property in here, and these are my parameters, I want at least 10 acres. I don't need to have more than 50, but if it was woodland and maybe maple bush or whatever, depending on the price, and I didn't really care a lot about the house, which is why I'm in this very old, like, money pit. Because it wasn't about the house, it was about the land. And so this
Of
property
course.
that I bought has been used for cattle farming for a lot of years. So it hasn't actually been planted with crops. It hasn't had the use of pesticides and all that other kind of stuff. It has a big bank barn on it, and it's got like kind of it's laid out in 5 fields. And so when we first bought it at the end of 2018, but I still had a contract with my work and in Ottawa West, and we didn't end up selling our house in Fallowfield until the end of 2019, and then we moved up here. And I had a 5 year.
So
Yeah,
um, are you
I'm
located?
considered Apple Hill, but I tell most people I'm
Okay.
Monkland, just because I'm down the road from Fields of Gold, which is another great farm to visit.
Okay.
And I'm closer
Yep.
to the 138, whereas most people really consider Apple Hill is closer to Alexandria. So,
Apple Hill is just around the corner from where I am in
oh, I
Martintown
love
as
Martintown.
well.
Yeah, I go.
I'm not too far from you.
Yeah,
But and so you've got the farm and you've been working it for the last few years.
yeah. The last
And
this actually, I'm going into my fifth season, and like I was gonna just finish
wow.
with it was COVID hit. And of course, you couldn't get seeds or plants or wood or anything.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I was going to do because my plan was a 5 year plan. But all of a sudden, there was no more 5-year plan. There was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I need to do it now.
Hmm.
So I just started doing things. I thought, okay, well, I know I want fruit trees and I want nut trees. Um, and those take a good 5 years to establish before you start getting,
Yep.
a workable crop. So I thought, okay, I'll start with those. And then, you start working because once you start putting the time into fencing and stuff, like I had to learn how to work a tractor, um, how to put up like 1,000 feet of fence, like just a whole bunch of stuff, and how to find things and build things. My first year here, I built garden boxes for other people because everybody got into gardening,
So
right?
you're
So
you're a master of many things, but today
yes,
we brought you on because whenever I talked to you last, we got talking about
yes,
weeds and how important weeds are, and some of them we can eat and whatever we can do with them. So I know there's a few weeds that you're going to talk
yes.
about.
So
Starting, our time is running
yes,
short. That's why we want to get into the weed talk now. So we're talking firstly about
So the
dandelion.
probably
What's
the
the
most famous weed of all.
yeah,
the dandelion?
yeah. I love that yellow beauty. All right, so dandelion is one of the first plants that pops up in the spring, and it grows just about everywhere, much to a lot of people's dismay. It is great as an all-round plant because you can use every part of it. So you can use the young leaves just as you would as spinach and stuff like that.
Okay.
You could saute it in a little bit of garlic butter, and it's quite delicious. The older the plant gets, the more of the bitter qualities will come out. So, the bitterness means that it's a digestive, which means that it helps to get your digestive juices going. So, if you're going to eat a heavy meal, if you add a cup of, say, dandelion tea, or through some dandelion, whether it's sauteed or in your salad, it will help with the digestion process and get things going. Um, the unopened flowers are great pickled, and they are very much like a caper once they're pickled, a very similar, taste experience. The flowers you can use in salads, or in baked goods, and they do retain a bit of their yellow color, so they're quite pretty in cupcakes or like a lemon loaf or something like that. It's you don't do it so much for taste in that situation. It would be more about the look and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But most famously, the yellow flowers can be made into a vegan honey.
Oh,
And
Oh wow.
it's a really, really easy process. I used to make it for some of my vegan friends, and it's quite delicious. And if you do it correctly, it really does taste like honey. And of course, the roots. So, usually with most plants, you want to look at how they grow. So, you want to use the stuff that grows first because that's where all the nutrition is. So, with the dandelions, the leaves come up first. So, they're the highest in nutrition in the earlier stages, but then they put all the production into the flowers. And as the flowers get older, they lose some of their energy. And then as the plant starts to die down, the energy goes back into the root.
Hmm.
So that's how you
okay.
would harvest it. The root is really, really great for a lot of things. You can make a really great teas with it, but it's most commonly used if you roast it and then grind it up or whatever. And it's got like a chicory like flavor, which you can use it as a coffee substitute. Um,
So
Okay.
I have a question about the
yeah.
flour. You were saying using it in baked goods. How would you go about that? You just grind it?
You just take it apart. It pulls apart really easily, and then you have all the little sepals, like all the little petals and stuff. And you would just stir it into your batter and stuff.
Oh.
They actually make really
Oh,
lovely fritters. So if you batter it like kind of in a pancake batter, and then fry it or
mhm.
deep fry it, they actually make quite a lovely fritter.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's
So
a wonderful one to start with, and it's one that everybody recognizes. So you
yep,
won't really get into a lot of trouble with on identification.
Right.
It's
yep.
And with weeds, so when I talk about weeds, it's hard for me sometimes to not put in the medicinal element because even with food, there's certain foods can be our medicine as well as a lot of these weeds. And a lot of these weeds, In a lot of native cultures and stuff, they believe that our elders or, Mother Earth, put everything we need in our backyard for our ailments that affect us. And so if you look at some of the weeds that we have growing around us, they're very different than in other cultures. And so
Mm-hmm.
I believe if we're out there looking for superfoods or things to help us with ailments and that, we should really look at what grows in our backyard. So that's a nice little tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
So we're
next
moving
So
one,
on.
this one,
yeah, that's one of my favorites too. So that's plantain. That's actually a broadleaf plantain, and this is at close to the end of its cycle where it's gone into seed production. So plantain is full of vitamins A, C, K. It's got lots of iron and calcium and magnesium. It's great to add it in soups, just like how you would use kale. It's a little bit stringy, so it's one that if you're going to eat it raw, you want to do it again when the leaves are really young, because as it gets older, it gets all these long strings through it. So once it gets to that point, it's really good sautéed or used in soups. It's also really great. You can toss it in with a little bit of coconut oil and then season it, maybe with a bit of Parmesan or garlic spices and stuff. And you can roast it in the oven and eat it just like how you would eat a kale chip.
Mm,
wow,
Yeah. And some
awesome.
people throw it in their
that's
smoothies too. It's got
Okay.
lots of
wow.
healing um, stuff. Oh, and it's also really great if you dry it. So just like you would do it in the oven, you could dry it and turn it into a green powder. And then that green powder you could add to your smoothies or you could sprinkle in your salads. Just because it's a powerhouse of, it's got lots of water soluble fibers and stuff like that in it. So it's a powerhouse to add to your nutrition table.
Okay.
Wow.
Moving on.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got
Chickweed.
chickweed. And this actually looks bigger in the picture than what it is. It's actually like it's really tiny. The leaves are like little mouse ears and it's you'll notice it if you're down like in the grass kind of thing, but it's not like some of the other plants where they really stand out where you're walking out and you're like, "Oh, there's a bush of burdock or there's dandelion." It doesn't stand out. It's one of those ones it's everywhere, but you have to go looking for it. So chickweed is one of the earliest of greens in the spring, and it is extremely nutritious. It's a weed that grows everywhere. People like to eat it raw in salads or make pesto out of it.
Hmm.
Another one again that you can use in smoothies. The little flowers are really pretty to throw into salads for looks. It's another one that's got lots of calcium, fiber, minerals, and it has a kind of a pleasant taste, a little bit on the grassy side.
Okay.
Okay, so you can eat the flowers too,
Yes,
Edna?
yes, yeah,
Not just okay. You can eat the whole thing.
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
wonderful.
It really baffles me that we don't use these things more,
Yeah.
I
like
know it amazes me a lot of times when I go to markets and I'm selling the ones that grow because I grow some of them intentionally, but a
mhm.
lot of them I forage on my property, like stinging nettle. That's at that picture there, and stinging nettle is one of those really really magical. Some people will call it a weed, but a lot of herbalists call it a really really important herb. Um, and it's got so many properties. It grows in a lot of really disturbed soils, and so just by that plant is telling you that it's healing because it's healing those disturbed soils and stuff. The roots are don't go really deep like a taproot, like on a dandelion or a burdock. The roots are kind of like a finger system that goes out and it just holds on, and then it spreads underground, kind of like the mint family.
Mhm.
So the stinging nettle, of course, it gives a sting, and a lot of people don't like it for that reason. Um,
Hmm.
in some cultures, they used to take and bundle it, and if you had arthritis, or pain, or bursitis, they would bundle it and they would kind of whip. So, say if you had a really bad bursitis knee or something, they would take it, the raw plants, and kind of whip your knee with it, and the juices that are in there are like an antihistamine, so they cause a reaction, and that reaction helps to heal with the inflammation. Um, with stinging nettle, it's extremely rich in vitamins, phosphorus, iron, and believe it or not, proteins.
Hmm.
The young plants are really great in soup. Some people do eat it raw, but you have to be careful with that because it will sting. The
Yeah.
sting won't like hurt
Yeah.
you. It's just more a nuisance. This is a plant that you want to use it before it gets. You can see the little seed pods that are hanging down there like little fingers.
Hmm.
So this plant used as an herb or as a tea or in a salad, you want to use it before it goes to seed, which those seeds are actually its flower. Um, Afterwards, you don't use the plant once it goes to seed. You actually save the seeds, and the seeds you can use. You can sprinkle it in your yogurt and your granola and stuff. It really helps men with prostate health and kidney health and stuff like that. For women, it's a
Hmm.
powerhouse for hormones, anemia, and stuff. I just love it. It's got a bit of a grassy taste, like it's but it's not strong and it's not bitter. Like
Hmm.
dandelions and stuff, there's some that are very bitter. It's not bitter. It's actually really easy if you don't like the taste of it to throw a couple pieces of fruit or citrus in with it and you don't even notice it there, but it gives you so much back in nutrition.
Hmm.
Okay.
All right, so the next one is mallow. And mallow, believe it or not, you can make a tincture or an infusion with it. An infusion is when you put it into water and you let it sit for a while. You can do cold infusions or hot infusions depending on what
Hmm.
depending on what you want to get out of the plant. So this one was originally used to make marshmallows because it's very gelatinous inside and like when you cook it down and stuff. So the mallow grows in a lot of places. It's got like another one it's got not just one taproot, but it's got a couple. So it's one of those really stubborn ones to get out of areas. It's a low growing annual plant. It can either have pink or white flowers. The entire plant and flowers are edible. They can be added to salads, or again, you could cook them. What a great thing with this is about is that if you have soups or stews that need a little bit of thickening, you throw some of these leaves in it, and it will act as a thickening agent.
Oh.
And it's
Okay.
got lots of magnesium and selenium, potassium, so lots of the minerals just because of the way the roots go into the soil.
Awesome.
Okay.
Next one.
That is purslane. So purslane, it's in the succulent family. And it's another one that's quite gelatinous and stuff. Like when you eat it, it almost feels like thick and pasty. You can almost feel the thickening with it. So it's another one that you can use to thicken soups and stews. It's got a little bit of a nutty flavor. Um, Let me see here. So it's a superfood. The seeds you can ground into a flour. It's very nutritious and you can eat it raw, cooked, pickled. Makes really good pickles just because of the texture of it and stuff. It's got a lot of
Hmm.
antibacterial properties. Um, so that if you use it in a tea, it can help to soothe a sore throat. It's and
Julia.
yeah, what's great about this plant is that it's very high. It's one of the few ones that are very high in omega threes, so essential fatty
Mm.
acids.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a great one and it's one of those ones that it grows in the cracks of sidewalks and it's almost screaming at us like I'm here, use me.
Wow.
Next one.
Okay, so this one is lamb's quarters. This grows more, I find, like at fields and kind of abandoned lots and stuff like that. You won't notice it as much like in cultivated lawns as you do maybe some of the other ones. Lamb's quarters, it's the underside of it's got like a slight purple hue to it, and it's that slight purple hue um, that I can't remember the constituents with it, but basically, if you roast the leaves until they're almost burnt, you could crumble it all
Hmm.
out, and it makes a great substitute for salt. So nice
Oh.
little, yeah, nice
Wow.
little tip with that. It is a relative to quinoa. You can use the young leaves how you would use spinach and in salads or a green mix. But if you let it go to seed, You can then use that seed as a grain or a flour. It's got very mild taste, and it's prolific. Like when you find a patch of it, you'll find a lot of it.
So Phyllis tells
Wow.
us that we should be gathering in the
Yeah.
spring and go foraging together. Edna needs to come too, so things can be identified correctly. So maybe we'll do a seeker seeking weed
Yes,
event,
Seek a weed
the
seeking.
weed seeking event.
I should.
yes, that would be fun.
All right, our
Actually,
last
we
weed
should
for today.
Okay, we are doing. Oh,
creep.
this was a request. And please correct me if I'm saying it wrong. Is it Miley? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this was the
Yeah.
request.
Creeping
Yes,
Charlie.
because it's the bane. It bothers people more than probably dandelion and stuff, right? Because it's so tiny and it's tenacious, and it spreads along, and then it puts its little fingers down, and then it and then it goes sideways, and then it goes left, and then it goes. So you when you're trying to pull it out, like if you're weeding it,
Yeah.
it just holds on because again, it's another one that it's like, hey, I'm here. You guys aren't using me right. So creeping Charlie, it can be cooked similar to spinach. Of course, it's not harder to forage. It's just more time consuming because the leaves are so tiny, right? So you can cut it with scissors, pull it up. The flowers are edible as well. They look really pretty in salads. You could use them even as a topper
Oh,
on cupcakes and stuff like that. With some of these
okay.
flowers too, you can make like a sugar wash, put them, cut them like have them fresh like on parchment paper, and then just coat them in a little bit of a sugar wash, and then use them later on a cupcake or whatever. Creeping Charlie has a strong peppery taste when it's older. Um, and obviously it's very invasive because it is part of the mint family. When
Okay.
it's younger, you will taste a little bit of that slight mint taste. You can use it in a tea. Most people will use this particular one more medicinally, as it's great to eliminate toxins and heavy metals from the body. So
Mm.
it's one of the ones that it really kind of goes deep in and does some work. It was extensively used originally, especially in most parts of Europe, in place of hops to clarify beer. So it was used in ale production and stuff because it would, take the cloudiness out of the, and it also added a bit of flavor. It's high in protein, insoluble fiber, minerals, flavonoids, and amino acids. So a lot of these things are powerhouses, and we just throw Roundup on them in our yard, which, well, of course, Roundup does a lot of bad stuff. That's another whole talk.
Yeah, exactly. No, we should definitely get Edna together with us and go foraging at some point because I love what you've said about everything, but I'm still kind of leery on should I, shouldn't I? But
These are
I'm going to be looking at my weeds a different way now
Yeah,
for sure.
all of the
Edible.
ones that I chose, because even with the herbs that I grow, I try really carefully because I'm not a master herbalist. So I try really carefully to only use herbs that either I know and I've used, or that I know really
Okay.
don't have any I'm so bad with that word, but they don't have any adverse side effects.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like
Okay.
there's some that, but even a lot of people don't realize that garlic. I'm a garlic farmer. And if you eat too much garlic, garlic is a natural blood thinner. It's just what it does. It's
Hmm.
components in it. It will do that. But we use it in a lot of things. You'd have to consume a lot of it for it to do that. But it's good for people to know that, right? Because if
Mhm.
you ate a whole jar of pickled garlic, well then you better make sure that you don't go out and cut yourself.
Right.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you so much, Edna. That was very
Oh,
interesting.
I hope you guys enjoyed
Like,
it.
Yes. And
yeah, I'm
we'll look at
definitely going to be,
getting an event going. Maybe we can all go
yeah.
foraging together. It'll be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Once the once once the snow goes,
Yep.
we'll go we'll get something going. Wonderful. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Okay.
and thank you for being with us. Have a great rest of your day, Edna.
All right. Thank
All
you. Take
right.
care, ladies.
Bye.
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 Take care. Bye.
And that brings us to 11 o'clock.
It does. That was flew by fast, but that I'm going to be putting a lot more. I love salads. I have to have my greens every day,
Hmm.
so I will be putting more stuff in my salads once the snow
Well,
goes, of
I might
course.
try the dandelion again, but use it like when the leaves are just coming out,
Yep, yep,
because the
yep,
bitterness was kind of getting to me. But I
yep.
might try it again with baby leaves, see how that works.
Well, baby leaves, and I think you can even eat the flowers,
Mm-hmm.
she
Mm-hmm.
said.
Yep.
Wow.
All right. Well, that's it for us for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We had a really good watch today. So appreciate all of you. And we'll see you next week. Have yourself a great day.
And a super duper
Bye
week.
for
Bye for
now.
now.